Afternoon everybody, 18th of May. Thank you so much for coming to visit us at the Essex Young Farmers Show today. We've all had a cracking day. We're just about to get packing down. We bought quite a bit of kit with us, some of the kit anyway. So on the end we've got the lorry and tanker. We bought 939 and Crone 8-string baler here with the new smart box on. Ivan's 939 and tanker, and then we bought just a 942 with the JCB 53695 behind. That came down the road on the low loader on the back of this, so that hence why that tractor's just stood there and the low loader's out in the yard. And then we bought our new branded, well, Matthew's calling it the show trailer, but it's not Matthew, it's a spare parts trailer, but with us just to put everything in. So it's been a great show. Thank you to everyone past and present that's come to visit, you know, current customers and hopefully potentially some new customers and stuff. Yeah, we've all had a cracking day. From a lot of the family's been here, apart from Dad, he's been spraying. Oldest member of the crew, and he's been spraying T2s today, so thanks very much to Dad for doing that. Yeah, no, it's been a fantastic day, to be fair. We'll definitely be coming again next year, and hopefully 2026 will be bigger and better for the show, for Essex Young Farmers and everybody involved. So thank you very much. Evening everybody, it's the 22nd of May. We had the Young Farmers Show last weekend, the Essex Young Farmers Show, which was very good. Saw a lot of customers and had some new inquiries as well from the show, from people that we haven't dealt with before. We're just here in Burwell this evening, just in a crop of winter barley. It's hybrid King's Barn. Matthew's probably not going to come in here because he won't be able to see him, but interestingly, it's actually a very, very good crop. If I pull this off a minute, you can see here that these bottom leaves are obviously dying off, which isn't a problem, but like leaf 1, which is your flag leaf, leaf 2, 3, 4 are absolutely clean as a whistle, no disease, and you've got leaf 5 that's still probably 30% green on it right down the bottom of the plant there. So there's no signing of drought on this at all yet, and this is on chalk land here at Burwell. The rainfall we've had here in Burwell this year since the 1st of January is 95 mil of rain. So it's quite remarkable really how good this barley is, but it did have all of its nitrogen applied to it before the middle of March. So and it did get washed in, but this is probably the best crop of barley, even though we're in a year where it's a drought, that I've ever had on this farm for evenness. This field's 120 acres. It goes right down to the village. Just been doing some grain counts on the ears, and you know, there's sort of like in between 50 and 60 grains per ear, and when you look at it, it's just a mass of them, which is good. So fingers crossed, we're praying out for a rain this weekend. As I say, we haven't had any rain since the beginning of March here. I say the beginning of March, since about the 10th, I think, was the last time we had a rain. We had about 20 mil, I think, and we've had nothing since. I know we've been a lot more fortunate than other people in the country, but as you can see, it's a fair height. I mean, I'm 6'5" nearly, and that's up above my waist, like this crop. So hopefully there's still plenty of potential. Looking on the weather apps, as you do when you're praying for rain, you look hourly, daily, sometimes every 10 minutes, if you know what I mean, because you're that desperate. But if we got if we did manage to get 10 or 12 mil, you know, half an inch this weekend, I mean, that would really set this barley up, and it could be the crop of the year, to be fair. We've got some wheats now, you know, on gravelly areas, pockets in fields that are dying back and dying off, if you know what I mean. Not necessarily dying off, but they've lost all their bottom leaves, and you've sort of got flag leaf 2 and 3 are still green, but you know, leaf 3 in particular won't be many more days till that's dying now. So we are really, really desperate for a rain. I mean, I was doing some figures the other day on areas that we farm, and I think at the moment, you know, if it was going to be a 7 tonne a hectare year on wheat, which it could still be, maybe less, who knows, could be more if we get some good rains. But you know, if we was to do 7 tonne instead of 10 tonne, 9 to 10 tonne, we'd be sort of £400,000 down on income, which is quite worrying, really. You know, when you've got, you know, rents to pay and machinery to pay and everything, you know, and you put all this effort in all year round, you know, 365 days of the year, and the last sort of month, I suppose, I've been really stressing about the weather and the crops and everything, because at the end of the day in my business the buck stops with me, and you know, you've still got to pay everybody, and you know, it's really is important that we have a rain now to really try and save the day. I mean, I know I joked about it when we were drilling the sugar beet out in this field behind in March. I mean, the sugar beet down here looks a picture. It's a lovely crop of beet. You go over the hill on the chalk, well, it's 30% of the crop of what it is down this side the field. And I jokingly said back then when we were drilling we could have been 10 days into a drought, which we bloody were, if you know what I mean. And we've only had a little bit of rain since then, just after drilling, not a lot, and then we've had nothing since. So I know sugar beet does love the sun, and doesn't need the water at the minute, because it's not putting much of a, you know, a tap root on, you know, which is what you want for the beet, which is what you're harvesting. So yeah, but no, if it stays dry, I think we'll be combining here probably, well, end of June, won't we? Could be done and over fairly quickly this year. So fingers crossed, everybody, that I hope everybody gets some wanted rain this weekend to boost spirits within farming. I mean, you know, wheat's gone up a little bit in the last couple of days. It went back a bit, £1.25 today a tonne, so we've seen an increase this week around £4.75 a tonne to a fiver, which just really isn't enough. So I think I spoke to Ollie at Viterra today, and he said to me that he could offer for November 175. Well, it just isn't enough for wheat. I mean, when you think 175, I actually sold forward 3 tonne an acre of barley, which was quite ballsy, really, when you look at the weather we've had so far, at 170 quid a tonne. You know, and this has only had 180 kilos of nitrogen compared to, you know, a winter wheat crop that we've got there, sat there at 270, 280 at the minute, you know, because they're all milling what we grow, and looking at putting new foal on. You know, this has had a lot less nitrogen, and, you know, not the spend on fungicides that wheat's had either. So, you know, as I say, this could be the crop of the year when you wish you had thousands of acres of it, not hundreds, if you know what I mean, you know, like the wheat. So yeah, no, but very happy with how clean it is. My father and Jim, they both do the agronomy between them, both basis and facts trained. Well, Jim does a lot of agronomy for other people, but my father does all the sort of in-house agronomy alongside Jim and stuff. They sort it out between them. So no, in terms of disease pressure, I know it's easy to say, but I would prefer a wet season to know you've had some rain where there's potential. These crops still have got some potential, even though you've got patches that are dying back in gravelly areas. I mean, we will need, if we were to have a half decent harvest this year, I think we'd need an inch to 40 mil during June, because when you look at the weather forecast, those temperatures at the end of next week are picking up to 23 again. Well, if we get half an inch this weekend, you know, that'll help, don't get me wrong, but, you know, that'll soon disappear with high temperatures. So whether that produces thunderstorms or what, I don't know. And the $1 million question is which everybody will be wanting to know in the next few weeks, coming up to cereals, is what the price of sugar beet's going to be next year. Because at the moment we're deciding on you know, rotation for next year. We grew 1,300 acres of sugar beet last year. We're down to 650 this year because the price pulled back, and no near Nick seed dressing. It was such a risk to grow a big area. So if that drops down below 30 quid and you're talking in the 20s, I think we will most probably knock sugar beet on the head on heavy land, because you just don't get the yield in September. And then I will do some number crunching with my dad and Jim on this, you know, chalk land where we're fortunate enough we can lift later and still get a good wheat in behind, to whether we still grow it on here So next year at the moment it's looking like, depending on what the price of sugar beet is, that we're going to be growing a big slug of oilseed rape again. Pardon the pun with a slug, but yeah, big area I should say of oilseed rape. Just because, you know, oilseed rape at the moment is around the £400 a tonne mark. Here rape, you get £165 a tonne next year bonus. That includes all your oils and everything, but 165 over base. So if the price manages to stay around the 400 mark, we could generate £565 a tonne for that. But of course, you know, with the costs of chemicals, fertilisers, you know, the machinery costs, rents and everything, you know, you need to be doing over 3 tonnes a hectare of that rape to return a good profit margin. And as we all know, with flea beetle, slugs and pigeons, I mean, they all play their part in wrecking the crop for farmers. We'll just have to be on top of it. You know, the sprayer will have to be at the ready for flea beetle, I should imagine, and we'll try and get digestate on. We can actually find that we're fortunate enough, we got a lot of digestate contracts, and we find that the digestate's very good at getting nutrients straight into that crop and helping it tackle the flea beetle by growing away from it. And also the smell of it tends to deter the flea beetle off of the oilseed rape. So be interesting times in the next couple of months, and I'm sure everybody else is feeling a bit doom and gloom in farming at the moment, especially with the current government we've got, with deals that they've just done with America, for instance, with bioethanol. You know, I think 2 million tonnes or something of wheat that used to be produced in this country used to go to bioethanol plants up in the north, and they won't be viable now after the deal that good old Keir Starmer, the farmer harmer, has done with Trump. So of course that's going to put pressure on our home wheat market next year, because obviously northern farmers will be looking at, you know, potentially growing milling wheats as well, whereas in the past they'd have grown feed wheats for the local bioethanol markets. And if they're not viable to run and compete with imported bioethanol from America, that won't be ideal. And I also see this week that beef has come back a bit. I think it's a 25-30p a kilo, speaking to friends, and that's a knock-on effect from another deal that he's done with America to import 13,000 tonnes of US beef. So at the moment, there ain't really a lot to look forward to in farming at the moment, to be honest with you. But I'm sure a lot of you are feeling the same, but we'll all come together like we normally do, and hopefully, touch wood, the weather comes right for us. What we don't want is no rain now and a wet harvest, and you end up rubbish prices, rubbish yields, and having to stick diesel in the dryer to dry the crop as well, because that really will be a disaster. So, but there we go. So as you can see out here, you know, the beet are there. We're missing a few plants, you know, through the dryness and that, you know, on the establishment. But then you come out in the middle here, you know, headland's a bit patchy, but it'll fill in if we get some rain, you know. But then you come out in the middle here, it's actually not too bad as you look up the field there. Good crop of beet, but like I say, when you go over the other side of the field, they're not like this. They're more like this size plant, smaller. So the majority of this sugar beet though is nearly away from the threat of virus, really, because when you get out in the middle, a lot of them are about 10-11 leaves. Well, they say you need to be sort of 12 leaves to be, you know, not safe from yellow virus and the aphids, but it does help a lot, you know, because the plant's more vigorous and it can overcome the virus, if you know what I mean, because they'll be nice strong plants. So again, if this had a rain at the weekend, we'd be cooking on gas, really. But there we go, it's just all a bit depressing at the minute. So yeah, but I'm sure Matthew will put the drone up in a minute of that field of wheat behind. That's the second wheat, palladium. Palladium doesn't look very well this year, to be fair. Unfortunately, we got a big area of it. What have we got? We got 400, 800. We've probably got about 1,200 acres of Palladium this year around the place, and then we'd have 1,500 of X days along, and then a load of Cheer and Skyfall as well. So yeah, it's been a good year for Skyfall so far. Actually looks quite well, because it's been a low year for disease risk. We haven't got any yellow rust in it, touch wood, at the minute anyway. We've been quite ballsy actually with our T2s, because the crops have still got a bit of potential in them. We haven't just gone back and just done Teb and Amistar. We've chucked Univoc on. So we've done Univoc with Teb and some Turret as well. I think it was Turret and Univoc and some Teb at T2, just because we could see this rain coming. And with Septoria, it only takes 10 days for it to cycle in the plant. So if you get, a splashing effect over the 4 or 5 days that they're on about bits and pieces of rain from Saturday to Wednesday next week, these crops that have still got a lot of green leaf and biomass in them, you could then see 10 days later a lot of Septoria. And we didn't, with a big acreage a week, we didn't want to be having to firefight, coming back, putting more chemical on to try and tackle Septoria or even rust. So we've gone ballsy, hoping that we were going to get rain. We might have egg on our face, but we did tailor it back a bit, because original plan from the start of the season was to use Moravus Plus. So we've gone back, we've gone for a £45 a hectare spend instead of £70 a hectare with using the Moravus Plus. So, we've sort of saved ourselves £25 there, so a hectare, which of course mounts up to a lot of money when you get into, the hundreds or 1,000 hectares or whatever. 1,000 hectares is 25 grand, but it's all well and good saving the 25 grand as long as it doesn't affect your crop with disease coming into it later on. So touch wood, the crops are clean at the minute, and hopefully we've given it enough fungicide protectant to stop Septoria and rust getting in these crops anyway. So, but no, we'll give you another walk round next week. I think Matthew and I'll go for a walk round all our crops. We'll show you some different varieties and diseases, where we're struggling on different soil types, and give you a proper insight into everything, because from the outside it might look all rosy, but when you get on the insides, it's not great. And we'll show you some good and we'll show you some bad, and that's life of farming, unfortunately. And you just try and improve next year. What can you do different? Like here, for instance, this headland that's slightly patchy, this is where that big Beluga ran up and down. It was a more coarse seed bed. I mean, don't get me wrong, there wasn't a lot. If we'd have had some rain, that would have been fine. But, when we planted it, what are we now, Matthew? When we planted it 10 weeks ago, probably. At least 10 weeks ago. I didn't think I'd be stood here today saying that we've had bugger all rain, if you know what I mean. But the reason these beet look well is because we did tackle, we got it into moisture early where it was a better seed bed. There's still bundles of moisture down there when you dig down, but we just need that bit, just to meet moisture from the top now, and these beet would fly. Just to make sure that, because we put DAP in that top couple of inches. So, of course, where it's dry in the top couple of inches, that DAP can't get into the plant. So we just need a bit more rain just to freshen the job up a bit, and hopefully things will start cracking on, really. So, yeah. No, I'm just going to go and finish the last field of beet for this evening. Then I've got a meeting at 8:30 tonight in Ely. So, yeah, we'll see you next week. Thank you very much.